But one of the things that we've been working on here lately, and how many of you have cleaned out a pond in the last year? All right, of those, how many still don't have water in there enough to, yeah, okay. The reason I'm saying that, I think that there's an awful lot of situations we have ponds out there that are needing to be protected. You've already cleaned it out, and so what are you going to do? And I'm talking about limited accesses to these ponds, and we're going to experiment here a little bit. So why would we have a limited access? Do we do it for the health of the cattle? Oh, probably partly, right? Because you had foot rot problems related to it. Do we do it for water quality? And here this is talking about the E. coli and the effect of E. coli. You know, we could do a little work, and we've done some work and showing that the little blue dots are actually the E. coli, the brown dots are just bacteria that's out there all the time. And so that's the reason that we start worrying about this is the E. coli's process. And that's a shot of just some cattle have access to a pond. Now, it was not exactly that pond, but it was probably a worse situation. Do you do it to reduce all that mud and slop that you have to clean out of the ponds? Well, we can probably reduce that too. Sometimes we talk about limited accesses for streams, and we're not real high on that because it's real hard to do. We're talking about limited accesses as we would go into putting in a pond situation. Basically, if you listen to me, I'll say it's like putting a boat ramp into your pond. We want a good hard surface there. We want the livestock on it. A fence around the pond does a wonderful thing, keeping the nutrients out and keeping runoff out. And so you can fence your pond and put these limited accesses in. If you fence it, you know, you got to have alternate water supplies. We use this for a different presentation. But a lot of times you have ponds that you'd like to put a tank below, and you see the stuff I do on tanks. You like to put a tank below, but an awful lot of ponds you just don't have enough fall to put a tank below it, so we've talked about that. And that's when we start talking about limited accesses. You ever seen a limited access installed? I worked with Conservation District people, NRCS people, county agents. We all talk about that, but we hadn't really seen any installed. Well, I got an opportunity to start working on it some, and we want to share with you what it is. This is just a drawing. I think this came out of some Noble Foundation information, you know, and that's basically what you're trying to create is a little access down there. The information sheet that I have out front, we talk about the width. It says that we ought to have a 10-foot wide access plus an additional foot for every 10 head of cattle that's out there. So 100 head of cattle running would say a 20-foot access, right? 50 head of cows, a 15-foot would be, okay? But anyway, this is a sheet that I make out there, and we talk about some of this, and you can get a copy of it. I'm gonna, how soon do I need to be done here?
We got our speaker here, so.
Okay, I'll just pop through as quick as I can. Or you let me know. I'll just show these real quick. This is one that's an example of one that is on the north side of US 54 out by Eureka. Now that pond is empty.
Yeah.
It now is empty. I mean, there's nothing in it. But let me just talk to you about it. You like as uniform a slope as you can. And there I talk about the width of it. We originally started working on weaving our tires for them, but they got concerned about that hole in there that cattle might get the foot in, and so they wanted us to do a different process on one, and so we put one in like this, and then we put a matching one in that is these tires with circles, and I'll show you that. The problem with this one is Aaron, what would be the problem with this one? We didn't put any fabric down under anything, and mud started trying to come up through our treads and all that. We got a bunch of issues with it. But anyway, that's what we're really looking at. We have two demonstrations in this, and I'll show you how to make the second one. That's the one that we really like. It doesn't take but a second here. There's the two of them side by side, and Aaron, the bubbling up there is probably because we didn't have fabric underneath it and some stuff. But I do like the weave or the fabric in making them together like that. It works well. This other side is where he didn't get it put in as early, but this is the type of access that you're going to create. And there's the cattle using it. First thing, we cut them into the ground. We make a slot for them, okay? By having a slot there, that means when we fill it up, the rock's not going to spill out everywhere. I even put a foot at the bottom so that the tires and everything will rest against it. Get that grade and get that trench cut. You want it so that you can go 4 to 6 feet down that embankment. Vertically drop the water by 4 foot and you still be in it. So that's some of what we're talking about. And in some manner you got to fence this dude. These tires are going to be 10 inches thick if you use a semi-trailer tread. These are 10 inches. And this is just a quick example of how it was. We put they had the fabric down on the bottom. Then they put the treads on, and we scatter the treads out there just as tightly as we can. We put the posts in, the points in there, and then we put the gravel on. And you fence that out at that point.